Good morning, beautiful people. How is everyone today? Hello, beautiful people. I'm gonna click on this. Today we're gonna talk about what could have been happening in Tylee's life that no one knew what was going on with her. No one had her inside scoop so far. We have no clue what was going on with Tylee. Like, we haven't heard any news about Tylee. Kat had said it in a comment to me earlier. I put on a video last night that I had done yesterday morning, but it needed to be edited. And in that video, it tells about a woman's life and how she was brought up as a Mormon. And we're not here to disparage Mormons. We're here to disparage what happened to Tylee in her life. Like, we're here because it doesn't matter if she was Orthodox or Catholic or Presbyterian or Methodist, any of the religions. It's what was happening in Tylee's life. Yes, it shows a course. It might prove that religion had an underlying factor in why Tylee isn't with us right now, but it has no basis on why Tylee was mistreated in her life. Like, I don't understand it. Why isn't a child valued? And why isn't it when a child becomes a preteen and we know what's going to happen, or we hope it's going to happen, we hope that the child becomes contrary, like always swimming upriver when everyone else is swimming downriver. We know what children are, and we know what happens in adolescence. We know that they become unruly and they start defying everything that they thought was true. And if they don't do that, you can end up as Chris Watts. You can be a perfect child. You can grow up and, not sass anyone, not give everyone a hard time, and then do something extremely deviant, like murdering your whole family, as Chris had done. He played that role so well as a perfect person that when it came down for him to make a mistake, he had bottled up all those mistakes into one big killing spree. I mean, he killed 4 people. His own son, his 2 daughters, and his wife. And he was trying to get away with it. We all know that he wanted to blow up Survey 19. There's no question that he wanted to blow up the battery and make it look like it was an accident, probably have Shanann's car there. So what goes wrong? What is wrong when kids are so controlled in their life that they don't have the says that they should have? And then furthermore, all the adults around them call them names in the sense of they're unruly, they're incorrigible, they're too strong-minded, all the things that make up a perfect person in my book. If a teenager comes out punching into his adolescence, I look at it as, hey, aren't we lucky that he has a little something in him that's going to help him for the rest of his life or the rest of her life. Why would you downplay someone's spunkiness? Why would you take that and act like it's a negative trait and that you disown the person? And that there's been so many videos made where there's been interviews with Melanie Pulowski, and that's her cousin. Like Stacy was Lori's sister. Melanie is Stacy's daughter. Tylee was Lori's daughter. And so they're first cousins. And Melanie talks about Tylee as if she can't stand the idea that Tylee's going through adolescence, that she steered clear of her, that she basically wanted to pretend Tylee didn't exist. That's why she could so boldly say in the interviews, the 48-hour interviews or the Dateline, whatever national TV news program she was in, when she declared that, boy, when Tylee became a teenager, we didn't have any real communications. Well, what for? You mean you ditched her? You ditched your first cousin? You move all the way up to Rexburg, Idaho to be next to your aunt? You live in the next apartment over, but you don't care where your cousin is? And you don't care what's happening with her? And you must have seen a vehicle right outside. Somewhere must have been that Jeep. I'm sure the police have an idea of where that Jeep was from the time they did that drive-by shooting October 2nd on Brandon Boudreaux to the time that they had to see that bench seat taken out of the storage room, which they believe it, or which people on YouTube believe it might have been the bench seat of the Jeep, because they're right. The Jeeps have no room. I have one, and you can barely squeeze a person from the front seat to the back. They're very slim. And you have to take out the back seat for many reasons. And they come off with just two simple C-clips. You just push two extensions and it clips it right off. So it's made to come out lickety-split. But the idea is Melanie moves up there. First of all, she visits in October. And then she moves up there October 31st or thereabouts. So she's up there for a month, and she doesn't care about where her cousin is. She just goes on with her life. This is what I mean. What were in the minds of the adults that were in Tylee's life? When we see Summer and Janice, her grandmother, and Summer, her aunt, on 48 Hours, we only see them talking about the kids as if they're not even sure who they are. Janice says, JJ knew me. Well, what kind of statement is this? If you've had this adopted kid 6 to 7 years of his life, then how is, when you live in the same town, meaning the greater Phoenix area, how in the world do you go on national TV and go, and JJ knew me? JJ knew us. I don't understand it. Because it's ridiculous that a grandmother would say, oh, my grandson knew me. But in that same thing, they never talk about Tylee. They never talk about who she was or what they were missing of a person. Like, what was it about Tylee that they missed? Sadly, it's only my opinion. I don't think they missed her. I don't think they missed her because I don't think they cared for her. And that's why there's so much negative talk. Ian Cushion had said in an interview or in an article that when she went down to Arizona to visit Tylee after she had found her brother had either died or been killed, she went down there and she said that Tylee and Lori didn't even really have a relationship. It was very strained. Now, what kind of craziness is that? Of course, it's going to be strained because you have to be the parent, so you have to walk the line for your kid and make sure they walk with you. But there's also that loving component that rides alongside that walk in the line. Where was the loving component? We can only assume that Lori loved herself so much that how could she ever love her children? Her own flesh and blood, Tylee. She didn't give her the time of day. She used her as another parent. She parentified her. So how do we go on in life and then understand I'm trying to read the chat. Kat says, I don't think so either because she probably told them all exactly what she thought about the wackadoodle coat. Yes, that's true, Kat. Can you hear me well, guys? I want to just make sure that I'm loud and clear. Yeah, I'm talking about why Tylee got left out. Hi, everyone. Hi, Marge. Hi, DJ. Hi, Marie. DJ, what did you think of the video I did and that I put online last night? I was going to put it up today, excuse me. But then I decided I put it up so that people could read it. Oh, good, Marge. Yeah. So it lends to talk about this article. And I don't want let me reframe this so that people don't get mad at me and I lose subscribers because they think I'm against the LDS church. I'm not against the LDS church or Mormons. I'm against people being imprisoned. If not the kind of prison that Lori and Chad are in, of course. I'm mad about when you keep kids hostage when they're children by some type of mind control. Like the woman said in that article that I read online yesterday, she said it. She said, I grew up at LDS. And when I became a teen, I realized that I was being asked to be squished in a black and white world. Everything was black and white. I was being squished to think that the church was the only truth in the world. Now, where have we heard that before? Who has used that word truth? She said that word true and truth was used all through her childhood, that the LDS church is the only true church, that the only truth could be found from the LDS church. Where have we got that kind of one-sided, yes, Melanie Pulowski, over and over? But Melanie and this girl, I do not believe, know each other. This woman grew up. She's a writer. She claims she's agnostic now. And she claims that her childhood scared the heck out of her. She claims that she was in fear all the time because she said when she was growing up, her family or the LDS community that they were in made people fear outsiders. So the only true people and the only good people were in those black and white terms. So she suggests that she wanted to be black. Either you're good or you're bad. And she suggests that, when you're a teen, you just want to be bad because this goodness is way too much. Like, we aren't that perfect. She felt her humanness. This woman, Rachel, who wrote this article, obviously felt her humanness, felt that she was not perfect and that the church wasn't as true. And then as she grew, so she could have the reasoning skills as a young adult or an old teenager, she realized, I'm revering a prophet. I'm revering a person that has sex with teenage girls. Like, what kind of crazy thinking? I'm sure she felt threatened, because I'm going to tell you, if I grew up LDS, and this is only my personal idea, and I found out that the man that I was supposed to glorify and revere, I would be thinking, oh my God, is he coming after me? Or is he going to send one of his cronies after me? That's how I would be thinking if it came to Joseph Smith and me learning about his wives and how young some of them were, and how he would steal friends' wives from them. All that stuff would scare me as a teenager. It would scare the bejesus out of me. You know what I mean? It would be unbelievably that I wouldn't believe in Jesus at that point. They would make me agnostic if I grew up with those teachings, those doctrines, or that's not even a doctrine. That's just the makeup of the leader. So I am not putting down the church. Hi, Jenny. I'm not putting down the church. I'm just saying who I am as a person and what I would think of if I had learned of these things like Rachel did. Rachel talked about how she had to listen to this man who found some gold plates that the Book of Mormon were written on the side of a hill in Kamoa. That's in New York, Palmyra, New York, that he had found these golden plates that were buried, and he unearthed them, and that's how he wrote the Book of Mormon, from these golden plates. DJ says JJ took Risperdal, which is primarily for schizophrenia zombies, huh? Alex must have knocked out drops of bad ketamine and some in Mexico at the pharmacies. Alex and Tylee, sex issues, most likely. Yeah. When they don't protect the child. Can you imagine being a 13-year-old girl? Just imagine being Tylee or this woman, Rachel, who wrote why she isn't going back to the Mormon church. She felt that her own identity wasn't protected. Yes, the identity of the church was glorified and highly protected, but her own preservation of herself was never even thought about. So she left the church, and the only reason she went back was to write this article. When she went to that annual event in New York State, where supposedly the gold plates were unearthed, she went back to write exactly this article, why I'm never going back to the Mormon church. I did link the link to the article in yesterday's video, so that if you want, you can go read the article yourself. And it will explain to you how there's a lot of fear in the Mormon church for her. If there was a lot of fear, she feared anyone that was really highly Christian. She feared anyone that was not a Mormon. And she feared that she would never fit in because she was finding out that she didn't like what she was hearing. She didn't like this black and white thinking that we all have seen. We see it with Melanie Gibb. We see it with extremely with Melanie Pulowski. We've seen how unmalleable they are, how their minds are only, like we call it, seemingly brainwashed, that they can't think beyond what they know. And they have no reasoning skills. That's what scared this girl. Not only did the history of the Mormon book, the Book of Mormon, that scared her about how Joseph Smith had led his life. But also what scared her was how unmalleable their thinking was. And so can you imagine Tylee, a young, as spunky girl, living with people like Melanie Pulowski? Can you imagine sitting next to her as a teenager and trying to have a conversation? And she says, oh, well, that's not the truth. We have the way, we know the truth, and the truth will show itself, Tylee. And the truth is with us. The truth, we get to explore that truth, Tylee. I mean, I can't imagine the psychobabble conversation that Tylee would have had with Melanie. And I can't imagine how much Tylee snubbed her and not the other way. Melanie makes it like she snubbed Tylee. But I'll bet you 10 to 1 that that Tylee snubbed Melanie because she's like, she's a freak. I mean, we haven't seen anything else. We haven't seen, I mean, unless you guys have seen anything in Melanie Pulowski that says she is a normal thinking, reasoning person. I haven't seen that myself. I look for it. I search high and low for it. I want to find where she presents normal. I just can't find it. She doesn't show signs of having any real emotions. When she does smile, if you look at her mugshot, you'll see there's this little slit of a smile. And it's like crazy. Like, how can you have a tiny smile while you're getting your mugshot? Like, what was it? That her picture was being taken? Is that what she was smiling about? Or did she think she's so godly like Lori that she wasn't going to get caught? Like, nothing she's done. Like, these people are idiots that have just arrested me. Okay, I'll listen to you guys, but I just wanted to know if anyone had viewed the video that Rachel, her last name is Velamu, Velamu. And she wrote an article that was published under the Vice website. And in the article, it tells about how she was taught to be frightful of non-Mormons and how she felt that their thinking was too black and white. And she was always looking for the gray. She wanted the gray, and she's still like that as an adult. FLDS. DJ, you know that FLDS family that just got caught? Not caught, they got murdered in Mexico in the van. I don't know. How many people were in that? Like 9, 10, something like that? I can't remember, but it was van filled with children and adults that were murdered in Mexico. And so you're saying that there's a possibility that they run some type of drugs, whether from the pharmacies in Mexico or illegal drugs? Nine or 10 are dead. Yes, they do run drugs. Yes. Well, I'm going to say, after knowing what Lori and Chad do or did, it doesn't surprise me. If you profess you're highly religious, I always wonder, and this is in any religion, this isn't talking in Mormons, this is any religion. If you profess to be so godly like they are, and they have done, what are you really doing that you're covering up with your profession? Like, how come you're telling us that you're so godlike? I worry about that, and always have. DJ, I came on for you because I told you last night that I would come on. So when I woke up, I just came out. I said, I'm going to go out and go live, and we can have a talk. DJ, was there anything from the video that you want to talk about? Because it's relative to growing up Mormon and how hard it was for Rachel, and still is, considering her whole family is Mormon, how hard it is for her not to want to go back to them, to have that comfy spot. See, when she left her family and when she rejected Mormonism, she, in essence, she was somewhat rejecting her whole family, but she really loves her family, and she just doesn't like how black and white they are. Yeah, Tylee was beautiful. And that's why we're talking about Tylee, is because really, with these women, were Melanie Pulowski and Lori jealous of Tylee? Did they play that card? Just like Lori was jealous when her son got a beautiful wife and acted like she was Colby's girlfriend instead of Colby's mother. I mean, think about the way she acts. I am sure Colby was not lying or even exaggerating, because I've seen that before, where the mother is so narcissistic that she'll treat her daughters like pieces of you know what, and then the son gets the big stage. But the son gets the big stage with her with a high price, and that price is to be her man. I mean, act like they're a couple. Yeah, you could get massive doses of Benadryl. I heard Joe Ryan's autopsy results reveal high quantities equivalent to nearly 200 pills. That's on Joe's. That's on Annie Cushion's Facebook page, Kelly Fitzgerald. Is that where you're saying that came from? Is her page? Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. I've seen mothers in my own eyes. I have seen mothers give their kids Benadryl to calm them down at night so that they're ready for bed. Now, in my days, that would be considered like extremely child abuse. I don't know what it's considered today, that the mother is too great to have to put up with a whiny kid, at bedtime. Yes. Oh, I see. Oh, I'm sure. Yes, Melon. Melon says the entire story is too heartbreaking. And it is. And it's heartbreaking that Tylee probably didn't get a teenage life. Even though they say, oh, Tylee's mother was fun. Yeah, sure. That was her way of parenting. The real hard nitty gritty stuff, like making the well balanced kid, like taking the strengths that Tylee had, which was her strong mind, and gearing that to positive things. That's the hard parenting. The easy parenting is taking them to Disneyland. That's easy. You kind of get a break. The kids go flying around while you just watch. The real parenting is the stuff that guides the child. So I don't know what a great mother she had been. I just think she was a show mother, just like the beauty queen. You can buy Benadryl in large quantities in the US. Yes, in Mexico, almost everything we have is more easily available. I got Valium OTC in 1985 in Mexico. Yeah, you can get it today, DJ. You can get anything you want today in Mexico. Yes, she was a Stepford mom. Yes, Mary, I never gave any of my kids anything to calm them down before bedtime. If you have a proper routine, you don't need to use. Yeah, but to think that you would put a medicine in a child's body. Now, an antihistamine is not a good medicine. And my understanding, and you guys can research this more, but I've done a little background research on Benadryl administration to young children. And I have found that there's a lot of physical things it can do. And one of them is something to do with your appendix. But I am not sure what other organs may be affected. But like I said, instead of like in my days, you'd put your kid in the bathtub, you'd let them splash around, and then you'd get them out, cozy them up in their pajamas, put them in bed, and then you'd read them a book. And then if you saw that they were falling asleep, you'd read the book the second time, the third time, and then the child would fall asleep. But to throw a Benadryl or 2 or 3 at them, and plus they don't even make Benadryl unless you buy it in the liquid form. If you're buying it in the pill form, then you're in serious trouble giving them Benadryl by the pill, because that's an overdose for children. Yes, Kelly, it's all different parenting styles. It's how you, if you have a hyperactive kid, like they say JJ was, that's what I would have done with JJ. If I had taken care of JJ, I would have let him play in the bathtub, you know, have him relax, get him all nicely comfortable, and read him books, and books that he's interested in, like Johnny and the Steam Shovel, and the Tractor Trailer book, and all these books that young boys his age are interested in. So I would read it, and that usually puts them to sleep. When you have a hyperactive kid, like it seems that JJ could have been. Yeah, Mary. Don't make me say things, but I'll read what you say. Some modern mothers are too lazy to parent their children. Bringing up children properly takes a lot of work. Lauren says you're 100% right. Many parents use Benadryl as an everyday thing. It's child abuse. Oh my God. Please, people out there, if you know anyone that is administering any type of pill to their child to put them to sleep, that's over the counter or not, please give them some education on what medicines can do to their bodies. Benadryl, like I said, is dangerous. It's, it's an antihistamine. So it's shutting down your body's defense. When you have histamine in your body, it's saying something's contrary. That's, and then when you put an antihistamine in, when nothing's contrary, what is it doing in there? It's not fighting the histamine. And like I said, the dosage and taking it every night. I've seen it. Guys, the only reason I can talk, I'm sitting in Florida and I saw it. I'd say to the mother, why are you, I would be babysitting a child and she would leave me Benadryl and she'd say, give this to him around 7 p.m. And I'd say, why? What's wrong with him? She couldn't answer me. She couldn't answer me because there was nothing wrong with him. That's how she got him to sleep at night. Can you imagine that? I can't take Benadryl and I'm an adult and it whacks me out the next day. Like I can't function the next day. That's why I want to take Benadryl for certain things, like when I get eaten by Florida bugs. I want it, but it'll whack me out for the next day. Yes. I didn't realize the VA prescribes it. I am the eldest of 5 children. My mother was once told she was lucky that we were all well behaved. My mother said it has nothing to do with luck. It was very hard work. Yes, it is. Yes. And it takes you spending that time with the kid. Bedtime is a nice time. It's the end of the day. You can relax too while they're splashing around in the tub. You can be reading a book or something to yourself or having a nice cup of tea, or you can make it part your time, not all your time, because of course you're going to be getting wet and they're going to have all those questions and conversations that they want to have, but you can make it a good time for you too, and then put them to bed and read them a book. I don't see any even books in the houses anymore. Do you? I had to buy books when I came down to Florida to fill up someone's house. I was like, why do these kids don't have children's books? You know what I mean? And not gigantic encyclopedias that they can't even carry. I mean, a child's book, just little tiny children's colorful stories. But now we're going off. I guess it all lends into why Tylee wasn't cared for. She was taken out to have time with her mother. And we can only think about how Lori might have parented her. Yeah, they all, yeah. What's the sugar? Rachel says the sugar content from these products are so hard for a child to digest, and so it will have reverse effects the next morning. Goes against what you're trying to do in the first. Oh, when you put things in them to put them to sleep with drugs. Yes. Yeah. Well, I'm a grandmother, so of course, as some grandparents say, and we pay our dues. Like, you have to put so much time in to children, and they don't just build. I used to see kids in school, the parents were never even home. when I was a kid, and I'd say, my golly, how do they come out so well? Because some of them came out to be very good individuals, and they had no parenting at all. It's because when you don't get any parenting, you have to be the parent. So you either go the good route or the bad route. Yeah. Yeah, and Kelly, they weren't even for show because Lori had that anorexia part of her and still does. Like it's all about her weight. So Tylee was a disappointment to her, in my opinion. Tylee couldn't conform. And I think, and you got to remember this. Yeah, Lauren, that's true. She said that kids are given a lot as far as monetary, but nothing that would really show love. Like throw some money at them. Wow. I didn't even hear that word fentanyl, DJ, until just recently. Yeah, they need more books, everyone. She used Xanax, Mindy. She used Xanax to knock her kid out. No, no, I can answer that, Mary. She's not capable of loving anyone. Lori's about how she looks, what kind of house she lives in, and all that stuff. See, she thought her and Chad were going to own the world. So she had the anticipation of hitting gold. She thought she was in the gold rush there. Running around with Chad was leading her to that gold that everyone else was going to not get. They were going to get it. They were going to get everything that we work hard for. They were just going to get it because they made themselves gods. Child's children, yes, yes. I did see that, Cat. Child's children said that they gave, yes, that's what I'm talking about. But this isn't new. This isn't just Lori either. This is something that's going on, like someone mentioned, in the parents of today. They're being taught to Benadryl their kids or do other things that would give them a bounce or take the bounce out of them so that they can sleep. Yeah, this isn't new. I had never heard of it until I moved to Florida and I saw it with my own eyes. In the last 5 years, I've seen it with my own eyes that young parents do that. So then when you babysit for these kids, you're wondering, hey, why aren't these kids going to sleep? Well, you haven't given them their Benadryl because you see no reason to, like they're not having an allergic reaction. Lori just used men and then dumped them when she had no more use for them. She will dump Chad as well now. He is no use to her. Oh, yeah, he is. No. That's the only reason Tammy's money, her life insurance. Oh, by the way, talking about Tammy, how did that make you cringe yesterday during the court hearing to allow media into the courtroom next week? August 3rd is next Monday. That's That's Chad's first hearing. It's just Monday. But did it make you want to, you know what, when you heard that Chad wouldn't be able to have his family see him if they closed off the courtroom any more than it already is? That's what Chad's attorney said. He said because of COVID-19, you're not allowed in the courtroom. And now if you take the camera away, it's essentially taken the ability for his children, not his children, they said family, to be with him or to see him. That made me sick. It makes me sick because he said it in a way that Chad is a victim, that, oh, our victim family member. And I could be wrong, but it makes me think that people are supporting Chad and his family. They support someone that dug up and buried and maybe killed children in his backyard. We know he had something to do with it. The raccoon gives it away. The raccoon story gives it away. Chad had something to do with it. And Chad was the only one that was angry in Hawaii. Lori didn't show the same, she didn't display the same kind of anger that Chad did in Hawaii when the news media were chasing them around. He was mad because he thought when he cleared the deck and went to Hawaii with his sweetie, that's what it was going to be about, him and his sweetie in Hawaii. And things started to change when the media started to hound him. Yes, Kelly, I believe that. Rob Wood is just baiting the hook so no appeals. Yes, exactly. He did exactly what he was supposed to do. Yeah, but come on. At this point, two children's bodies that were heinously buried in their yard, they have no excuse at this point. They have no, what story could he tell them that would convince any of his family that he is benign? His actions have been benign in all of this. What could he make up to anyone at this point? Because all of them, just like Rachel said, when I read that article, they took the black and white, and that's all you see. My father's good, or my husband's good, or my wife is good. She's not bad. There's no gray in them. So that's what her biggest complaint about the Mormons. She didn't complain about zombies. She didn't complain about all the things that we're talking about. She complained that they took your reasoning skills away. And she did not want to go into this world without having the gray areas to balance her as a person. Yes, Mary. Lori isn't the first woman who murdered her children for a boyfriend. No. Yep, I agree with you, Mindy. She deserves the same thing she did to them. 100%. What is Chad telling them he had nothing to do with it? Only Alex? And he didn't even know when Alex came and with the kids' bodies that's what they were? He thought they were something else? Right. I mean, now I'm getting morbid, but what did he do when he came with JJ's body in a garbage bag? He said, oh, I hit a deer. Here's a deer to to bury in your yard. Well, how come the deer wasn't burned in the pet cemetery? I mean, buried in the pet cemetery. There's no excuse that Chad can give to say why those children are buried in his yard. The only excuse that he can use is they were buried there because we never thought anyone would ever look for them. And we thought when the world ended or the big catastrophe came, that no one would be looking for them. Yes, Kat. Kat said, Chad is a storyteller. I'm sure he is weaving a tale. Of course, without question. Yes, they do display an air of confidence, Rachel. Yep, they plead not guilty. They have a long time to come up with a story. Where are those murder charges? Yeah, I don't know. I know one thing, the state ain't going to lose the case. They're going to be solid before they make murder charges. And it's my opinion that they're using these felony counts of destruction and alteration and concealment of evidence in the conspiracy ones. They're using that so they get even more information, because more information, because of the discovery process, will come out during these. Yeah. Great, Kelly. Kelly says Chad looks upset because his fingerprints or DNA's on whatever JJ was buried in, the bags or the tape or whatever it might be. His fingerprints and his DNA is somewhere there. Maybe not Tylee's because of how, they're arsonists on top of murderers. Yes, they were counting on the end of the world, Mary. Oh, yeah. That's nice, Jenny. She said she'd do circles on her son's forehead that would put him to sleep in just a few minutes. I know. My thing is how can Lori get out of it? The next morning when her children were gone, why? How can she get out of it? Why didn't she call someone saying her children were missing? So it's September 10th or September 25th. How come she didn't put phone calls into the police? My children are missing. Her inactivity says a lot. What she didn't do says a lot. Yeah. Mindy, I was mad about that too. That Chad's kids moved back into his house. That was gross. Yeah. Yeah, but they haven't proved that 3 o'clock in the morning anything happened. They said that one of the people died closer to 2. I think that was Tammy. I don't know. Let's not stretch. I mean, that's a stretch in my opinion, but that's my opinion. That 3 o'clock stuff is a stretch. Just because 2 o'clock is close to 3 o'clock and you don't know the other two doesn't mean they're all 3 o'clock. It's really a stretch. Yes, all of them. All of them hide in evidence. I can see that they would hide evidence. I don't know why they allowed the kids to move back into the house. I have no clue why they handed over the house that quickly. I know, Debbie. She said, I'd love to have seen their faces when the world didn't end. It's 4 o'clock. Yeah, but how can you see a pattern of 3 o'clock? The murders could have been committed if we only know one of them, which was Tammy, was closer to 2 a.m. So how is that 3 a.m.? I mean, they don't. And how do we make a pattern when the body of Tylee, there's no way we can nail down the time of death for her. The only time of death could be from those pings. And that's all a guess. That's all speculative. But then number 3, what about JJ? They didn't. So I don't get it. I don't get when there's a pattern. One thing doesn't make a pattern. 2 o'clock is not 3 o'clock. But that's all I'm going to say on that, because I know that some people would like to make it that it's a pattern of something, but I disagree. Right. Yeah, well, they identified, DJ, that Tammy died close to 2 a.m. So how is that 3 a.m.? Lori and Chad were in their own little made-up world, and that didn't include children. Yep. Barry says he never believed in the end of the world. Yes, I agree with you, Barry. They didn't believe in that end of the world. That was how they could pilfer money. See, you got to remember that when you get Chad's advice, you're duking him. I don't know how much you're duking him, but you're duking him. For him to come to your house and talk to you about near-death experiences and all these things that he was, a prophet about, then you would duke him. And that same kind of fear that woman talked about in the article that I read yesterday tells you that they always think that if they're not good religious people, then they're going to be in trouble. So they use religion to make you fear. Lori might pretend as if she trusted that Chad had the children hidden safe. I hope she doesn't get away with any of this. Oh, I know. I know. Oh, Chad sent my kids to a school, but that school or that bunker, I couldn't talk to them. That's why I had their phones. And when it was their birthday or a holiday like Thanksgiving or Christmas, I never talked to them. When it was Valentine's Day, I didn't talk to them. All the holidays that parents that have boarded off their kids will make an attempt to contact that child on that day, especially where's the phone call going out to Tylee on September 24th on Tylee's birthday? Does the FBI or anyone have Lori's record that she was calling Tylee to wish her a happy birthday at the BYU? Now, Melanie and David were supposed to be there on or about Tylee's birthday. So wasn't Lori calling her daughter? Just like Summer says, they were texting back and forth. Summer says she was texting Tylee about her birthday. Yeah. Yeah. What lends to it is Charles made one statement that I took very serious. He said that Lori had been going downhill in her mental capacity for the last 4 to 5 years. So it was 2019 when he made that statement. So that would have been either 2014 or 2015 that he noticed that she was going downhill. I agree. Did you see poor Colby's face when her lawyer said Mrs. Day, her lawyer? I know, huh? Colby only wants to strangle Chad. That's how I see him when he hears the name Chad, sees the face Chad, recognizes anything about Chad. His face looks like a man that wants to strangle someone. Yes. Yes, Kelly. Has Lori found a pen pal, a guide, or her own lawyer to be Mrs. Lori something the sixth? She needs money. Every time Lori has needed money, what has she done in her life? Moved on to the next man. She's moved, instead of moving up the corporate ladder, she moves up the man's ladder. Hi, Sam. Good morning, Sam. That's what he looks like. Cat, you're so funny. I was thinking the same thing. He looks like a constipated frog. I call him Jiminy Cricket. To me, he looks like maybe a constipated Jiminy Cricket. His lips sucked in like that. I don't know about communicating with those weirdos. So that the discussion today was for DJ, because DJ has been trying to teach me a lot about Mormons and how their thinking is. And this woman, Rachel Vellamore, who I read the article in a video yesterday, taught me a lot about. It's just extremely, in her opinion, her life was extremely black and white, and everything about them was about the truth, that they were the only ones that held the real truths in life. And I call that dangerous. I call that very dangerous. Other people will call that's religion. And it's true. All religions think their religion is the real truth. But the way that Rachel had written it in her article that she wrote, told me it from a little girl's perspective, a young teenager's. And so that's what made me think of Tylee. I've read that article about 4 to 5 times now. And, just because I think of Tylee being a teenager and only being told there's one truth, and that's the church's truth, and being told that things are just either bad, you're on the dark side of the list, or you're on the light side of the list. So black and white, and that you're not allowed to think of gray. You're not allowed as a growing person to object to anything, or to be suspicious, or to have any reasoning skills that would make you think that there's something bigger than just the Mormon church or any church. We never want to defile a whole entity like the Mormon church. We know that everybody in the church does not live their lives like Lori and Chad have. We know that for sure. Look at Nate Eaton. He's a Mormon. He doesn't appear to have that black and white thinking. He doesn't talk about truths. He knows there's a lot of gray. Look at the type of job he has. Yeah, who knows, Kelly? Kelly's saying that Chad's daughter could have hidden things at her house. I mean, but how much could they hide? I mean, in Florida, I don't know about you guys, but in Florida, we have the trash pickup twice a week. So every 3.5 days comes the dump truck. If I wanted to get rid of things from a murder 1 year before, they would have been gone a long time ago. I don't know about Rexburg, Salem, Idaho, but you know, I could throw a hammer in, I could throw a saw in, I could throw any of that stuff. They said, no, Kelly, they, oh, his ideas? Yeah, Kelly. She says the phones, the computers. They said they ransacked his house and took some electronics. Now, what ones did they take? Oh yeah, look at that, Lauren. I like that. Lauren says, "Don't fear the person who has money and likes to make money. Fear to wait to the person who wants power over people." Lauren, and even worse is add those two together. They want power over people and the cash as well. Yes, he had one phone for Lori. So where is that? They might have it. When they caught, someone asked me, it was a good question. Someone, because I talked about Lori carrying that big bag of cash after they had ransacked her rental car in Hawaii. And I think it was Nate Eaton or another reporter was saying to her, "Lori, what are you doing with all that cash?" The only reason I think the reporter could see the cash is because the police and the FBI had taken most of the stuff that was in the car, and they had given her an evidence bag to put the cash in because it was in a clear bag. That's all I know. That it was because he said, "What are you doing with all that cash in that bag?" So, I mean, if he's seeing through a bag, it's got to be clear. And they must have taken her purse or something, or whatever satchel that she had the money in. They must have taken it. They wouldn't take the money, of course. So it makes sense to me that they took the bulk of cash and had her put it in one of their evidence bags, just like a clear, Glad bag or something, a sandwich bag or a quart size bag. And that's why she was shown walking down the street. And a reporter had said, "How come you're carrying so much cash?" Yes, Manuela, yes. I do think they ransacked the car, though. When they had rights to go tooth and comb there, go through her, combed out her rental car. I do think, because that's why she was walking. That's only my perception. Why would a woman be walking with a clear bag of a lot of money? It's because she had nothing else to put it in. Because they had confiscated her stuff and impounded the car. Yeah. Kat, not only was Tylee smarter, but she was more beautiful. She had a real innate beauty to her. Hi, Maureen. Yeah, I've been on for a while. I don't know how long I'll stay on because I never realized doing a live is very tiring. And I don't know why, but it is. Yes, they had the legal right to search and seize the car and contents, yes. But the house, they had to be specific. Like, we're looking for Chad's computer, or we're looking for this phone. Yes, you're right. Yeah. Yes, Melissa. It is off topic, but it is very beautiful here. Yes, it is. You don't see it because I see it every day. If I just came upon it, I would be in awe. But because I look at it every day, then it's commonplace. But I have to keep reminding myself. I have to keep saying this is a beautiful picture. Yes, she was advanced. Certainly more intelligent than her mother. Yes, Manuela. There is a little clip of Tylee, Lori, and JJ where it tells a lot. Tylee states to Lori that JJ is her child and she gets up to hug him. And Lori obviously doesn't like it and says, "Your child? Really?" Yeah. Instead of saying something more, pulling them together. I know, huh? He had a hotline to Lori. Chad had a hotline to Lori. Isn't Chad lucky, huh? What do you mean, Melissa? You're saying that she went off the normal Mormon path as well? Yeah. Um, I don't know what, I haven't figured out, Melissa, what the normal Mormon path is. Yeah. And yes, if you're saying all this stuff about zombies and dark and light and all that stuff is really deviating from a normal Mormon path, and I would agree with you. Yes. She just looks so entranced. I mean, she looks like she's in a trance. To me, she's not out of it. I hope by the time she is a witness in court that she appears to be more fluid. She's not very fluid in her convictions, I guess. She it's almost like she's constantly second guessing whether her thinking is correct. Yes. Yes, Lauren, I believe that Tylee took care of JJ all the time. There's no question. Yes. I everyone I think thinks the same, that the truth would have come out from Tylee about Charles's murder. And I know that she said to the police officer that she had never seen his eyes so mad, like so angry. Well, no one likes seeing a person angry. So that didn't impress me. And in other words, just because Tylee said she had never seen Charles so angry, did not leave any lasting impression on me that he was an evil guy. It just told me that he was mad, rightfully so. People have the right to be angry. I hate to tell the world, but people have the right to be angry. And he probably, if he was angry, very justified to be angry. Yes. Manuela, and then once Tylee was gone, then there was no one to care for JJ anymore, and she couldn't take it. It was about 2 weeks, if that. She couldn't handle 2 weeks alone with JJ. Yep. The cash. They didn't have to spend it on the kids. I'm sure Tylee was like all teenagers. Well, that's my money. If she got, a lump sum each month and knew what that lump sum was, she'd probably be saying to Lori, well, some of that's my money. They needed the $6,000 to pay rent over in Hawaii. They aren't coming home, right, guys? They're not coming home. Lori and Chad are never going home. Yes, Barry. Lori only thinks about Lori. They all do. Jessica, they all look hypnotized, not just Lori. Melanie does. Summer does. Janice, to some degree, not as much as the younger ones. Yes. Yes, Grace Naomi says Tylee was only getting stronger as a person, and if Lori can't control you, you're gone. Yeah, you have to go. Yes, Kat, 100%. They all look like they're cultified. That's my word. I believe it's not a word, but I always say it. Cultified. They all look like they're cultified. They all look like Manson's girls. When you watch the trial of the Sharon Tate murders and the Bianca murders that the girls did, they all look like them. They all talk like them. They have stunted speech, not like me because I was born probably mostly deaf, because they don't know if I was born that way or if it presented in my childhood. But nevertheless, they're not like me that struggles with words because I've never heard them. They have a stunted speech because the gears have been slowed down in their brain. And that's what Rachel talks about. Rachel talks, let me see where she says it. I got the article, I printed it out. She talks about her gears in her mind were not working properly. And she recognized it very young. She recognized that her thinking abilities were stunted. And it scared the heck out of her. I don't know where it is. I got about 12 pages of the article that I printed out, but somewhere in this Why I'm Never Going Back to Mormon Church article that I printed talks about that. Talks about Rachel. She's the author of the article, and she talks about loving her family and she doesn't ever say that Mormons are all bad. She never goes into any of that. Listen to what she says in this. I just found this one because I'll never find the one about her thinking. in my belief, in my upbringing, was that the church is true, a phrase we repeated constantly and organized our attitudes, our thoughts, our actions around. The church is true. So that's she says, a phrase we repeated constantly. It wasn't like learning your math charts where you have to kind of repeat things over and over. This was learning that the church was the only truth. And then this is what she says. And so if a member ever left like I did, it could only be because they were full of pride. So, in other words, too full of themselves, deluded by Satan, or wanting to sin. So does that mean that Lori and Chad have left the church because they're full of themselves, they're deluded by Satan, and they want and have sinned? So I guess if they think they're still church members, they're not. Because this is what Rachel says. I just won't never be able to find where she talks about losing her ability to think under the belief that the Mormon Church had bestowed on her. Oh, here, listen to this. She says, and I'm going to probably start back too far, but she says, this is Rachel, the woman who left the Mormon Church when she was a teenager. She left the religious, her entire family is still in the church, but she left the religion. Within the past few years, Mormon leaders have been quietly releasing letters couched in careful language that address these uncomfortable facts. These letters strive for plausible deniability, twisting these facts into a message that about the trials and tribulations of faith. But the facts are still there. These facts still push at the boundaries of belief. My sense of the controversy, based on the zone of silence that seems to surround these letters, is that most Mormons either don't know about these letters or making an active effort not to think about them too carefully. I was wondering what would happen if I started probing, but I also remembered the weird skipping habit that my brain developed as a byproduct of growing up as a Mormon, a habit that persisted long after I left the church. This mental skipping caused me to dismiss out of hand most of the weird rumors I heard from outsiders. What could outsiders possibly know about Mormonism that I didn't? I dismissed the mention of secret handshakes as a myth, but it's actually true. I just never went through the temple ceremony, so I never learned the handshake. I vehemently denied the crazy talk about blood oaths. Unfortunately, that was also part of the temple ceremony, at least up until 1990. When I first read the John Krakauer's book, Under the Banner of Heaven, I skipped over the history section, completely missing the mention of Joseph Smith's polygamy and the doctrinal basis of polygamy. When I saw the South Park episode about the Mormons, I thought the scene of Joseph Smith putting his face into a hat to translate the Book of Mormon was an over-the-top parody. Nope, that's also true. So sitting at this event, I tried to reconcile these two parts of me. The part that knew the truth, the part with logic, and the part had spent so many years clinging to my unwavering faith. I was reminded of this when a middle-aged married couple from Utah who came over to talk to me. The husband was wearing a yellow headdress and a fake beard, while the wife was wearing a red turban with tinkling metal charms hanging around her forehead, which I guess is what passed for the fashion of the Jews who created ancient civilizations in the America. They asked me, "Do you know about the Mormon book?" Their faces were blank. So, I mean, just in that little sampling of what Rachel wrote tells you that there was something missing in her thinking, and she exclaimed it. You have to read, you can go ahead and watch my video that I put out yesterday. I put it out very late last night for DJ because I wanted DJ to understand that it's a simpleton's way of thinking of what churches can do to you. It's not deep. It's not this deep rhetoric about how religious churches and such start. It's very simple. How she tells us she was mind controlled and only thought of the truths that came from the church. And I say this could be any church talking, but some churches may lean towards more of this truth stuff, that their truth is the best. Their truth is the Almighty. And the difference with the Mormons that I've discovered is you when a human can become a god. Now that's DJ, what's that called when a human can become a god? Like, this is beyond, of course, what I was ever taught in any religion that I had lessons in. Barry says they are brainwashed from an early age and they only believe what they want to believe. Manuela says it, and this is definitely what I agree with. Certain churches don't want their members to think for themselves. I could be wrong, but the Mormon church seems to condemn independent thinking. No, this is what Rachel is talking. I don't think you're wrong, Manuela. This was a young girl like Tylee who became a teenager who started questioning what she was being taught. And questioning why she was revering someone who was molesting children. Like, how do you make Joseph Smith to be godlike if he has molested children? Yeah, it is a catch-22, Grace, when you're taught not to question. Yes. I don't know. Is it because when we're adults and we haven't been brainwashed as children, and let's call it that some religions can brainwash people. But when you're a child being brainwashed, it's quite different than if I started going to the Mormon church today, that they couldn't get a hold of my thinking skills because I have my own constitution and no one's going to mess with my constitution. You know, they talk about the Constitution of the United States. Well, our individual constitutions are what we need to keep for our entire life. And if your own constitution is taken away as a child because of some severe religion that makes you think in black and white terms, as Rachel says, as long as she kept her thinking black and white, she was safe. The minute she went to gray, she was unsafe. And they made her fear They made her fear anything outside of their thinking. And that's why I have that sign, faith over fear. Because whenever a church or any entity uses fear as a way to control you, you know you're in trouble. Movie called God Makers from the 1970s does a nice cartoon illustration of spirits being black or white and coming from a world near so-called Kolob. When die on earth, what happens to the spirit? Yeah. Yes, Manuela. The gray areas is that have made the brilliant people in our lives brilliant. And you know, brilliance has nothing to do if you have made a personal masterpiece. I mean, a lot of us will leave this world and we haven't created this perfect masterpiece, but we are still brilliant. We still have that intelligence because we have the ability to mold and take with our hands and our mind and create. What Rachel tells me in her article, and I might be reading too much into it, but what Rachel said in her article is they take that ability for you to create a way to that you lose your ability to think. Yes, the ability to think for yourself. And if you can think for yourself, that tells you you have a constitution, that no one has broken your back. No one has made you unstable. No one has tampered with you as you were growing and made you grow crooked. That people guided you to grow straight. Yeah, there is only one God, but I, I'm not going to have a debate about that. And I'm not saying that Mormons are bad people. I am saying what I have read from Rachel's reminds me of Tylee, that there was a girl that had a spunk to her. And Rachel left her family, meaning left her religion. She's still very much a part of her family and she loves her family. And she also says she loves Mormons and she loves everything about, except she can't lose herself for them. That's what the whole article is about. Rachel Vellamore, when I ended the story that she wrote, tells me that she was not willing to lose herself for a church, for the Mormons, for LDS. She wanted to keep her constitution. And you can't have your constitution, she describes, and be part of the church as well. And she was scared of outsiders. Like, who does that to people? Do you say, I live on X Street, but be scared of people on Y Street? You know what I mean? Who does that to children? Yeah, I know that you say stranger danger and that kind of stuff to your child. That's something altogether different. But how do you convince a child that to be afraid of the rest of the world unless you're Mormon, or unless you're, let's use, I'm going to make up a religion, seagrass religion. Unless you're seagrass, then you can't trust anyone other than the seagrass religion, or you can't trust anyone that's not the Mormon religion or the Orthodox religion. So that's what makes it sad. Barry, what are you saying? You're saying that unfortunately all religions are the same. They just don't allow freedom of thought. And why is that, Barry? I know I'm asking you this big question when you get 200 characters, but what is it that makes them think that knee fight? Oh, okay. Knee fight. When they catch someone in a vulnerable state, they can change an adult's thinking. They get them while they're vulnerable, depressed, sick, or just lost someone to death where they want hope. Yes. And another thing you have to, I heard, and you tell me if I'm wrong, that you have to get 10% of your income to the church. Thank you, Barry. Oh, Barry's leaving when I asked him that big. Is it Barry leaving? Yes. When I asked him that question, he says, I'm hitting the road. What benefit does it give them to have such black and white thinking? As I like this girl again, Rachel, because she puts it in simple terms. Cults thrive on the weaknesses of their followers. But now we're talking a church, and we're talking about a church that's 17,000 strong worldwide, 6 to 7,000 here in the States. So this isn't a cult anymore. Yes, what did I say, 1,000? Manuela? 17 million worldwide, close to it, yep. That's what they estimate, and 6 to 7 million in the States. I know, 17 millions. That's the state of Maine is about 1.4 million. The city of Boston's about the same. So that's 17 Bostons. Yes, Lori, it doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't. The only thing about the LDS church, in my opinion, is how you're taught to not question is what this Rachel was talking about. How you how you're taught to just follow. And that's what's piqued my curiosity. Not that the LDS doctrines or anything did anything for this to happen. It's whether the person was malleable enough to follow. Whether it was a child or an adult. What made Lori walk in her footsteps? Yes. The black and white thinking helps the church only, Jessica says. And the 10% is making the LDS church a multi-billion dollar business. Yes, Manuela, that's true. That's a lot of people for a fairly new religion. DJ saying only about 1/3 of the 17 million are active. So 5 million people have given over 125 billion, that is stock alone. World's richest church is only 5 million active people. About 5% spent on charity per 0.05% spent on charity per year. Most people, Kat, don't have 10% to give. So what happens then? That's a lot of lettuce, Graham. Yep. You got it. But what is very curious is I really suggest, and I know I've said this over and over, this story that Rachel writes on this website, this article about her growing up Mormon and how she can never go back. You got to read it, or you got to go watch my video, whatever you like, or read it and watch my video at the same time. I'm just reading the article, and I'm saying what happened to Tylee. What happened was Tylee or Rachel, and that she felt squished. It can't help that the LDS doctrine has elements of the fantastical, correct, and idolatry. So people that idol people and people that think there's fantastic things, but teaches one not to want to be special. Yeah, it's like almost like Disney World on religion. You think of all these kind of out of the box things, these science fiction things, these things that are metaphysical, but you don't have rights to anything. Shut your mouth. It's sort of like that. Rachel's last name, this is how you spell it. I did put, and I also put her link to this article in I uploaded a video last night, and her link to this article is in it. Her name is Rachel Vellamur. It is V as in Victor, E as in Edgar, L as in Love, A as in Apple, M as in Michael, U as in Unicorn, R as in Rabbit. Vellamur. And she had an article in a website called Vice, VICE, Vice. But there is a site reference at the bottom of my description on yesterday's video, and I did read the whole article that Rachel wrote, and she is a writer. So the good thing is she's a writer, so she had a nice way of giving us a flavor in a very gentle fashion of what her childlike life was like and how she had to fight with herself to get out. Yes, check it out. There's a link type thing in the description of yesterday's video, so you can get right to her somehow. I'm not sure. I don't know if it's a link that clicks right to her article or if it's just a link, a site reference, and then you can get the information there. Yeah, if you get those fantastical ideas, Grace, that would interest children, then you could have a hold on them until that wasn't, important to them anymore. And then they let go of those fantastical ideas or never do. I mean, we can't deny that we have seen 3 women on national TV that look like they are in some type of trance. Melanie Pulowski, I believe, #1. She looks like she's in the biggest trance. Then Melanie Gibb. Then Summer Shiflett. And then Janice, the mother, Janice Cox. Ian Pulowski, I don't know what to think of him. Yeah, I've never watched that, Manuela. Manuela said Chad got most of his stuff from the TV series Supernatural. I believe it. I believe he is very ill. Yeah. Yes. Good. Rachel Vellamore. Yeah, it's just a simple way to describe the personal torment it was for Rachel to leave the church because, in essence, she was leaving her family. But then again, since her family are all Mormons, then she really has never left the church because, of course, she still loves her family and she's still involved with her family. So the prongs or the tentacles of the church are still in her life, but she is agnostic now. It made her agnostic because of how black and white the church was. She only wants gray, she says. Mountain. They don't. That's the point. Kind of everyone is confused why Chad got women, but he elevated women, validated their crazy visions. Yeah. Yeah, though. Have you guys seen that picture? Okay, have a lot of kids, have them get a good education so they can donate a lot of money to the church. Wash, rinse, repeat. Lots of cash for the church with an ever expanding membership and increase in money. Well said, Jess. Jessica Ace just said that, and you couldn't say it. Lots of kids. And that used to be the Catholic Church, too. The Catholic families were always gigantic way back when. Yes, no female leaders and zero paid women. Men are paid $100,000 a year plus all expenses and tax free if in leadership. Yet Mormons brag no paid leaders, called stipends, not pay. Technical, I know, semantics. Thank you for that, DJ. That makes a lot of sense. So they make a handsome income. Yeah, they all look like in the trance. And that indigo, that's why I said I line them up as this. You can line them up any way you want. My lineup is Melanie Pulowski, the worst trance. Melanie Gibb, right under Melanie Pulowski. Summer Shiflett, and then Janice. Janice looks more like a businesswoman. She looks like she's always checking her cards to make sure she's making the right move. She looks more manipulative to me than trance like the Janice Cox. Yes. Another patriarchal religion oppressing women. Yep. And you're right, they're all patriarchal. Most of them are. Good, Grace. I'm glad. Yeah. Mel Pulowski's in deep psychological trouble. Pulowski's been gone for a long time. No, we got to love who we want to hate. I know that all of us want to hate Melanie Gibb, but I went through that. I went through loving Melanie Gibb for outing them. And then I went through, hey, she outed them. She outed them too late. She didn't respond appropriately. She responds like anywhere from a 5 to an 8-year-old. Her responses are weird, but then I have to love her because she's doing the right thing. But I wish I could have loved her before Charles was killed. Because I believe, and I believe we'll see it in trial, that she knew more about the fate of Charles and the kids. Yes, Manuela, I agree. Manuela says Melanie Gibb is not the immaculate flower she pretends to be. No, no, she's greedy. And I'm going to tell you in which way. You can tell she was greedy. She's greedy like a lot of them because she was looking for that fantastical life. She was looking for that rainbow that she could walk on up towards the heavens. I don't care how they pose it. If they say beyond the veil, she was looking to be elevated to a higher status. And they say don't look at yourself in the mirror too long. Yes, she's cooperating. She's working on her, Maureen. She's working on her, you know, how indoctrinated she is. She's working to disassemble that. And David is too. I just wish they wouldn't say preparing a people is benign, because I think that it might be a benign group, but there's a group within the group that is not benign. Oh, yeah, Melanie P is just talking in circles. DJ says Utah does have the highest use of antidepressants in the United States. Zoloft, smile. I heard that. I heard that. Isn't that funny? And guess what? Again, we can't ever knock a religion, because then it becomes a religion war. But they say the bulk of the Utah is the population in Utah, the bulk of it is Mormon or LDS worshippers. And the bulk of the most antidepressants are given out in Utah, especially for children or teens. The most suicides in the country, the statistics show, from Utah for teens. Yes, maybe a very large thread, Jessica. Yes, preparing the people is where these groups, the separate groups, can congregate. They drug them because they can't cope. Of course not. There's no adults in their life. They're all, can you imagine? Think of it for a second. Can you imagine Melanie Pawlowski as a mother parenting a child? Think of that thought. Her handing you a glass of Kool-Aid. That's a terrible thought. Edens, Maureen? Judge Edens? I don't know. Grace says, yeah, she got bumped off Chad's list by Lori. So she got closer to the top through Lori instead, it looks like. She seems to be trying to inch her way into Chad's spot. Julie Rowe, too. Julie Rowe, too. I hope so, Rachel. Rachel says that even though the women didn't want to, they are slowly waking up. I hope so. That's why I go back to this Rachel. the Rachel that I did a video on yesterday. Please read her article. Please read it 2 or 3 or 4 times, because every time I read it, I get another little tidbit from it. And it's not that it's complicated. It's a very simple kind of anecdotal written story about Rachel's life, but it's enough stuff in there. There's enough stuff in there to shake you up and say, wait a minute, I'm going to read that again. I'm going to pull something else out of this, because it really tells how she lived in fear of not saying the truth. And the truth was about the Mormon church. Yeah, she does look a little smug. Yeah. Rowdy, we've been talking about, I read an article in a video yesterday. I put it on late last night. And it's about a woman who was a Mormon. And the article is titled Why I'm Never Going Back to the Mormon Church. Her name is Rachel Vellamore. And I cited this article in my description of the video. So if you want to read the article, you can go to my video and look in the description, and you'll see the citing there. But basically what I've been saying about it is she tells how what I get out of it is that she tells how everything's too black and white. She became a teen and had to leave the Mormon faith because the thinking was too black and white. The other part of it is she didn't understand why she was honoring Joseph Smith, like why he got such a place in her church, where he was essentially molesting children and marrying 40 wives before he was 37 years old. So she didn't understand that. How do we revere? How do we put someone up in such high place that has done really awful things to children, like sexual abuse of children, mind controlling children? So she just talks about what turned her off as a teenager. She never talks about that someone influenced her. She never says someone came up to me and pulled me by the hand and said, hey, your religion is bad and it's too black. She says it's all her anecdotal personal experience, this article that she wrote. She writes about them thinking of themselves too highly, in that the Mormons can think of themselves as equal to God. And that changes the whole idea of, if there's a God, how can you be equal to God? I don't think you can be a judge in Rexburg if not a Mormon. No way would Mormons want to be judged and tended by a non-member. Yeah, it's just interesting. The story is interesting because it's a gentle way. It's not coming down with a gavel and hitting you on the top of the head saying Mormonism is wrong. She doesn't put it that way. She puts it in her personal struggles, why she lost her identity, how she couldn't think clearly. There was no gray in her life. Everything was either bad or good. Bad or good. So you were either Satan if you didn't believe in the Mormon faith, or you were good because you did, and you obeyed the Mormon faith. So she talks about her struggles. And what hit me in this article was I could see this as being Tylee. And why didn't the people around her that supposedly loved her, which we don't know who those people are? Yeah, blind faith. Loyalty of any kind is dangerous, Rhodey says. Mormons believe we are literally children of God. That's not confusing, is it? You're right. Grace says if anyone does Reddit, the there's ex-Mormons that have fascinating conversations. I know, huh? How do these godlike people condone murder? That's so true. How do these godlike people condone murder? Yes, and us versus them. Like I know some religions are, are proud, and they're very proud about some accomplishments that they have done as a religion base. But this isn't about accomplishments that they have done. Like getting numbers is an accomplishment in their minds. That's why an accomplishment to me, I'd rather have you unsubscribe and come and watch my videos than be a subscriber and feel that you have to throw 10% of your earnings to me. This super chat stuff. Oh, I better stop talking about I'll be in trouble. Hey, Graham, any word on why Lori wasn't in court? The only thing I was thinking from moment one is they're not allowed to be in the same place together. They're not. So I'm thinking that the lawyers had given them the choice of who went and who stayed home in jail. That's the only thing I was thinking. Yes, being proud isn't the same as being self-righteous and judgmental. 100%. That's the only reason I think Lori wasn't there, is they're not allowed to be in the same forum together. They could have sign languaged each other. They could have portal messaged each other. Who knows what they would have done? I mean, look at Chad. He looked like a statue with his lips sucked in. When you have those lips sucked in, that means you're peeing your pants. You know, his lips were sucked in. And he gets like that. It's showing he's guilty. That's my opinion. Yes, what would you like to talk about Melanie Pulowski for a second? I don't know if either one. I know Lori won't turn on him. She's too far gone. Yes, Kat. Religion is a personal belief. When you stop being murderous and amoral, it is wrong. Of course. And guess what, Kat? We don't even need religion to tell us that, right? I mean, does religion tell us that, or is a lot of us, is it innate in us when we grow up that we don't want to hurt? Does it come just from us, or did it take religion to tell us? Who? Oh, Grace, who was that? Melanie Pulowski? was in her closet. Has anyone else heard her house being filthy and her spending the whole day in the closet praying? Oh, it was Melanie? Oh, I believe it. Her mother was like that. Remember, I don't know if any of you, did any of you hear the court documents pertaining to Melanie's childhood? It was an affidavit from Melanie's father, saying how Stacy lived. And in those court documents, you get a flavor of how Melanie was being brought up with her mother. Yeah, he's peeing his pants. Yes, Marge, he was peeing his pants. He was holding his lips tight together, sucking them right in. Yes, I think so too. I think at some point we know to be good. Peeing his pants. Yeah, he was. He had those, what are they called? Like adult diapers. He must have had one of those on. He couldn't spell his own daughter's name correctly. Yeah. Yeah, they're at home, Kat. They're at home. I know. To manipulate by using religion. He spelt it wrong to the judge. How did he spell it? Spell it wrong so I can see. Chad's loose lips will sink all ships. Oh, yeah. Oh, a granddaughter name. Oh, I see. You don't want to spell it with an E, Melanie. Oh. Grace says, I feel that Melanie Pulowski has never had a sense of who she is. If this is a question, I'm going to put true. As long as the cult members are around her, she's mindless but dangerous. I feel like, yes. I think you got good intuition, Grace. She is very dangerous. And if she claimed that two of her kids were zombies, probably more dangerous than Lori because she had more children to kill. Lori only had 2. She has 4. She would have ended up killing them all. Do you think Ian's still with her? Does everyone think that Ian, after he kept saying, oh, even when the children do appear, no one's going to believe it? Right? I think Ian was threatened in some way. His ex-wife sent some interesting texts, and he expressed concerns about the events taking place. Then all of a sudden, he and Melanie Pulowski were married. Isn't that something, Mountain Mama? That is something. You marry someone who worries you. I've heard about people stopping marriages because they found out information right before their wedding, but you actually get worrisome information, then you get married. If Lori gets a hold of those poor women in jail with her, the vulnerable are in trouble. I know, huh, Lauren? I know. She was dressing like a boy, and she was talking like she was young. And I find that Lori does that too, Maureen. Lori talks in a very young girl voice. Have you noticed that? When she says her yeses to the judge or when she made the short statements to the police and to the newspaper reporters in Hawaii. She talked in a very, very weird young girl's voice. Yeah, Roddy says if Ian is still with Melanie Pulowski, he's in on it. I'm starting to think he is. I'm starting to think he did a good job at possibly fooling us, because at one point we were feeling compassion that he got stuck with her. But you got to remember, they lie as quick as we can think, and he probably knew her before. But I did read that. If you're single, I think Rachel talks about that. I think Rachel talks about a Mormon woman single doesn't have the same redeemable qualities that a man would have. So it's very important for her to marry so that she can be redeemed of maybe any sins or anything. I'm not really sure. Lauren said she talks like a chick trying to get out of a traffic ticket. It's all a game. Yes, I believe so. Oh, that's sad, Maureen. I forgot about the baby. 5 children, and she's like 32. 32 years old, 5 children. And neither of them work. He had to quit his job to move to Arizona so she could fight for custody of her children from Brandon. Well, someone let me know when she has it, because I don't keep up on. I've lost track that she's even pregnant. I know, Corrine. She is not a mother. They're a mother only so far. Melanie Pulowski is repopulating this planet all by herself. Yes, Maureen. Joseph Ryan had to move from Texas to Arizona and take a deep pay cut. Deep, so he could be close to his daughter. Then he was killed, in my opinion. That's my opinion. She needed money in 2018. Yeah. This November 30th, Jessica, they got married. November 30. Alex and Zelima, November 29th. Just hours apart. I gotta stand up. So, guys, are you excited that the preliminary hearing is Monday for Chad? Now, don't forget he's got 4. He's got 4 charges against him, opposed to Lori. She's got 3. Lori's got the two conspiracies, one for JJ and one for Tylee, and then she's got the one that she was trying to mislead the investigation by making Melanie Gibb lie and stuff. I forget the technical term for that, but Chad's got the felony count of destruction, alteration, and concealment of evidence. And he's got one felony count for JJ and one felony count for Tylee. And then he's got the felony count of conspiracy to commit destruction, alteration, or concealment of evidence for both kids. Now with Lori, she's got the conspiracy charges. She's got one for JJ. She conspired to destruct or alter or conceal evidence, which was JJ's body. And then, of course, for Tylee, she did the same. She has a felony count of conspiracy to commit destruction, alteration, or concealment of evidence on Tylee. Then she has that other charge. So she's got 3 charges. The other charge is the one that she tried to convince Melanie to obscure, or I forget what the term is. Does someone know here what they charged her with, that third charge that says she was trying to mislead the investigation? So his is Monday. His hearing is Monday. And you know what a preliminary hearing is essentially a mid-court session to the judge to show proof that you have enough evidence as the prosecutor to convict the defendant. So that's obviously Rob Wood. His job is on Monday, and if it goes into Tuesday as well. So on August 3rd and on August 4th, he has the job to prove to the judge that he has obtained enough evidence to keep the charges standing on Chad for all of these felonies. The one to, conceal the bodies, and the other one to conspire to conceal them. And then, of course, Lori's is August 10th and 11th. So if they don't finish on the 10th, they'll go into the 11th, and that's for her 2 charges of conspiracy and the one for Melanie Gibb. So you know that Melanie Gibb will be there because she's considered part of the evidence. Yes, Tylee's dad went through so much just to be close to his daughter and part of her life. They have found huge levels of sleeping pills in his remains. So I can't help think who gave them to him. Of course. They are all in jail. Big charges will come over time. No reason to rush. Cast a wide net. Yes, exactly, Kevin. Exactly. A big wide net is right. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that, Maureen, that it was optional to wear masks during the hearings, and Chad chose not to. Oh, yeah, the God. She's the third? I thought it was the other way. I thought it was Chad on the third. Okay. Either way, one of them is going to go. And so obviously, they'll pull a little bit different evidence. They'll show a little bit different evidence for both parties, for Lori and Chad. So we'll get a little bit more information about their parts and what evidence the state has. Yeah. I wonder, yeah, good point, Grace. I wonder if Alex tasered him again. Yeah, but I think, do you agree? I think Rob Ward isn't working alone. I think he's got a big team. I think the FBI is right behind this because it's been interstate murders. These aren't just murders that happened in the greater Phoenix area. They're murders that have happened in 2 different states. 3 in Idaho and 1, possibly 2 in Arizona. Joseph and Charles. Cats, yeah. Lori needs the mask. Her attorney wants it. He's afraid. Yeah, it's Monday. Today's what, Tuesday? So next Monday, I thought it was Chad's, but someone's saying that it's the opposite, that I got it backwards. But one way or another, on the 3rd will be one, and then on the 10th will be the other. And we'll find out a little bit more. Yeah. Oh, I can imagine. You remember that video of her in the court when she walked by her own son, like she was a peacock. You know what I mean? Like head up high and her feathers spread out in the back and so dignified. And then her son, Colby, looks over to Chad. And if his eyes could have sent daggers, they would have. Yes, and yeah, so it was so opposite. She was acting so proud of her accomplishments. It's like, I'm in court for the murder and disappearance of my children. Oh, that's nice. I should get an award for that. I didn't get the beauty award, but I can get this award. What did you like about Stephen Wright, Maureen? Need a bottle of wine and a beer to get through this court case, Maureen. Yes, Manuela. Yeah, Alex could have used a stun gun to kill Joe. Yep. Yes, it wasn't a woman in Boston, and I could be wrong. I thought it was in Boston. A woman was leaving a game, maybe a Red Sox game, I'm not sure. And the police, there was some kind of scuffle, and the police used a stun gun, and she died right then, right there, of a heart attack, and she was only in her young 20s. So yes, stun guns can make, depending upon where it hits, it hit her. If I remember right, it hit her on a heart valve. When the electricity, the voltage went into a heart valve, it must have kept it open or closed or something, and she went into cardiac arrest. That was just a couple of years ago. She was leaving a sports game, and I guess the crowd was rowdy, and the Boston police were standing around trying to protect the rest of the people. I never heard that, Manuela, that they could make the mask as a choice. Thank you, Brenda. She said, just wanted to drop in to let you know I love your channel, Graham. Have a blessed day. Thank you, Brenda. You too. Stun guns can permanently damage the heart. Yes, that Polk County sheriff, that cracked the frostproof Florida case, yes. He is he should be going. In my days when I used to do social work, we would take people like him, like we would handpick the people that handle their positions the best. Because you forget that social work includes police. Even though they're not social workers per se, they do a lot of social work. So when I did social work, we would handpick people like the sheriff in Polk County, and we would have them go around to the different counties and give their strategies, or maybe just present so that some of the people in the same position that don't have their pizzazz can pick up on some of what makes them great. And he has a greatness to him. He has an ability to appeal to many. And he should be a spokesperson, and he should be a teacher. That's my opinion. Bye, Kat. I didn't know Kat's going. Bye, Kat. Have a great day. Maybe the next video I'll put the picture of the elephant that was crossing the street. I believe, as you, that they killed Joseph, Ryan, Charles, and the kids, and I bet anything things didn't work out with Chad, Lori would have got rid of him. Yeah, without question, she's a Black Widow. Yeah, without, it says it all in their family tree. I hate to bring their family tree in it, because what Lori does is her actions, but you got to look back, and they're all trying to rob one way or another. Alex robs from his dead sister. Barry Cox robs from the government. Barry Cox is out there trying to sell financial products, claiming he's an attorney. He gets heavily fined for that. He gets caught. Number one, he's so dumb he gets caught. Number two, he gets heavily fined. But the common denominator is, why are they all in life insurance? Why was Barry in insurance products? Why is Zalema in insurance products? Why was Charles in insurance products? Did Lori target Charles just for that reason? Was it a Cox family mission to get into the insurance products to steal? Yeah, yes, Adam was responsible for that young girl drinking too much water that she died. Yeah, but he was part and parcel. He wasn't the only, it was the whole company. So it's the same deal, because every one of these, Chad, Lori, Alex, and whoever else is involved, it's part and parcel of the murders. They're all part of it. That's why I'm hoping that they are going for a, if it's not RICO, if it's not the law or the statute of RICO, where you can charge everyone the same charge, even though they actually didn't do the murder. That's it's such an elegant, such a great law. I mean, who would think that you can get charged with murder when you didn't shoot the gun, or when you didn't strangle the person, or when you didn't knife the person? But RICO allows you to do that. That's what makes RICO so powerful. And because I'm not an attorney, I don't know if this case meets every prong that you have to meet to use that statute, RICO. I even like that name now, RICO. Oh, yeah, Indigo. He worked for the radio station. and they had a contest. Something like if you drank so much wee, oh, that's right, it was wee, you won a wee. So if you weed a lot, or if you did not wee, I don't know how it goes. Like, did you supposed to go to the bathroom a lot by drinking a lot? But it all had to do with drinking fast. And if you don't know this, you're not supposed to guzzle. Your kidneys can't handle the influx of the liquid coming in that quick. You're supposed to sip. And the reason you sip is because it gives those organs the time to pass. Just think about it. You're flooding an organ. If you're drinking fast and guzzling, and so this contest, and I could be wrong because I really can't remember it 100%, but it had to do with winning a wee and maybe holding your wee and drinking an abundant amount of fluid. And so they were flooding their organs, and this one woman died. You flood your organ. My God, I didn't know that, Brenda. She says a little kid just died from drinking too much water. The parents made him drink it. Yes, it's how much you drink and how fast. Be careful if you come off the soccer field, or if you come off the whatever you're playing for a sport. Be careful. I've seen kids, and this is the truth, take a quart of Gatorade and guzzle it in 30 seconds. I'm not kidding. I've seen that. And I've told them, I've schooled them, do not do that. You're drowning. Your organ doesn't have the capability to take in that fluid. This is way before I heard about the weed contest. Yes, a weed game. So you won that electronic thing that's called a Wii if you played this game by drinking, and you either didn't Wii or you did Wii. I can't remember which way it went. You either held your Wii, or it was how much Wii came out of you. I really don't know the specifics, but it killed that one young girl. She was in her 20s and she was a mother. So yes. Brenda says, what I don't understand is why the cops didn't help Charles, then the kids, and would still be alive. How heartbreaking. One, Brenda, I know I'm going to sound like I'm protecting the cops, but I know this from working with the cops. My job as a social worker was always working with police officers. I worked hand in hand just about every day in all aspects of the system. Let's call it the social service world. And part of working with police is they're delegators. They just get rid of the client. The only reason the police will keep a client is to arrest them. But if they can hand them off to that next provider, they do. So that's what police do. They disseminate people that they can't charge criminally. It was the social service world that failed Charles. Not, and this is only my opinion. It was the persons that Lori was going to be evaluated that failed Charles, not the police. Even though the police seemed one-sided, but I don't think they seemed one-sided. She presented very well. If she came to me, and I'm a very astute person, and I always claim that since I was 5 years old, I could tell who you were from a mile away. I just have that kind of intuition. But she could almost fool me. So I don't think it was the police that failed Charles. That's my opinion. I think it was the social service world that failed doing their job with Lori, because he was pointed in the right way. He had obviously someone had told him what to do to put that hold on him. Hey, by the way, has anyone seen Drowsy Doll? I haven't seen Drowsy Doll. I hope she hasn't been blocked. And I'm mentioning this because she had told me she had been blocked once. Elisa says the woman died from holding her weed. She didn't go to the bathroom for about a day. That's what I thought. I think they are not actually in court, but on Zoom. So for now, masks may not be mandatory. But what I think the person was saying, Kevin, was she was sitting next to her lawyer. I mean, Chad was sitting next to his lawyer, and he was unmasked. Chad needs a mask just for aesthetics. Drinking too much water actually affects the electrolytes and causes water toxicity. It's not the kidneys that fail; it's the brain that yes, both though. I know someone that maybe they had weak kidneys. Yeah, but your kidney can't take that amount of fluid. It can't. It backs up, so it floods that area. I'll agree with the water toxicity. Manuela, you're like my encyclopedia. I'm glad I have you on my chat because you always bring in all these other things. Yes, both the police failed, but it isn't the police's charge. Their charge was to charge criminals that day. That's the only charge police have. Do we charge you with a crime, or do we let you go? Do we hand you off to the next person in the provider world? And that's what they did. So, yes, did they handle the conversation right with her? I don't think so. Did they school her too much on how to not get evaluated? I think they did. They schooled her too much. But they had nothing to do. Yes. You're welcome, Manuela. Hyperthermia. The salt levels drop. Deadly, causes brain to inflame. Heart stops. Yep. Yeah, we've heard it. I think basketball players have died of it. I think if you guys Google it, because of course I can't Google anything. If I'm going to have chat, I can't Google any. I think they are not actually in court, but on Zoom. Oh, so yeah, but if they're on Zoom, Kevin, that's what I was saying. Then Chad is exposed to his lawyer in that same room. So his lawyer and himself, by living, Chad's got a lot of roommates now. So Chad could be a person that spreads COVID-19 in the sense of his substandard living conditions. Oh, do I love Ben, the head of HUD right now. Ben Carson doesn't have to give Chad any substandard housing through HUD. Chad's got it right through the prison systems. Yeah, I know. Grace, yeah. To add to the aesthetics of the room, Chad needs a mask. I can't take those sucked in lips. They're guilty lips. When you suck in your lips, you're hiding so much and you're so guilty. That is funny. Yeah. I misspell all the time. And even when I do the talk to text, it won't write the right word. It'll write a word. I have written, believe me, guys, I have written all kinds of dirty messages. And lucky I have caught most of them. But I have sent out dirty messages because of talk to text. Yes. Oh, yeah, Lisa. You don't believe the things. You don't believe the things I have written in text by talk to, and even I can't even blame it all on talk to text. I can say it's because I'm just at the point I can't see the words anymore as well. I'm just at the point I need reading glasses. I'm a lucky one. I've gone into old age without the need. I have really good myopia, I guess. But anyways, yeah, you wouldn't believe the stuff I write. That's dirty. That would that someone would say, "Oh my God, what a nasty old grandmother." Yeah, I talk like my grandmother would have said that. Dirty, you know. But anyways, yeah, they've written terrible. One thing I said, I'll give you this because this is not a very dirty one. It's got a hint of, you know, dirty, but it's not really. I wrote to a guest that was coming to my house, and I said to him, I got your room all fancied up. Your bed, everything's new, all your bedding's new. The room is spick and span, everything. And then it said, and I hung thongs on your walls. Now, thongs to me, when I was a kid, were flip flops. I either call them flippers, flip flops, or thongs. But I wasn't writing thongs. I was writing something else. So here's this guy coming to my house, and I'm telling him I put thongs all over his wall. I don't know if I said I hung pictures or if I put a wall lamp next to his bed, something, it was something concrete like that. I mean, it was something normal, but it went to him that I hung thongs all over his wall in his room. Now, if it had been me getting that, I would have thought of flip flops, but not nowadays. Thongs aren't flip flops. Things, yes, Manuela. Thank you. Oh, there she goes again. The Manuela Encyclopedia. She said, I must have said, and I hung things in your room for you. Instead, it came out, I hung all kinds of thongs in your room for you. I was so embarrassed because I didn't know him well. He was coming to visit at my house, but I didn't know him well. And to write a man that I've hung, it would sound like I hung my thongs. I don't have any thongs. Here in Australia, thongs are, see, Jenny? Yes. And as I was a kid, they were flip flops. So people, when I ever say thongs, because I still haven't gotten my vocabulary straightened out, I told my ex-husband, you need to get things for the shower at the gym. Oh, thongs. He's 10 years younger than me, so he's not underwear. Oh, yeah. Oh, see what I mean? They don't. Yes, the vocabulary changes. Thongs, not things. Yes, I get it, Leisha, if that's how you say your name. Leisha or Lisa? I'm not sure. Yes. He looked at me so weird. Like, the Canadians used to come down from, when I was a teenager, the Canadians used to come down from Canada, obviously. And we didn't never had anything like that. And that's what they wore at the beach. Seeing the coast of Maine and New Hampshire and Massachusetts, we get inundated with Canadians, of course. Our water's warmer and not as rocky. They got more of a rocky coast. I mean, we have a rocky coast too, but we have more beach than up in Canada. So anyways, they come down in the 70s and they're all walking around with these thong bathing suits. We didn't know what to think because it wasn't our culture. Oh, yeah. Yes, they still call it that. I've heard about the floss. Oh, that's a good idea. Mary says turn off the autocorrect on the phone. Yes, and so you must have a lot of songs up there, Manuela? The real songs, not the flip-flops? Or both? Yes, that we all call it. I don't know about you guys, but I was a teenager the early 70s, okay? So the whole early 70s, I called them thongs. We never called them anything but thongs. Yeah, my beach days are over too. Mm, yeah. Kat says his wife doesn't like Chad's chin. I think it means times 100. Yeah, he's so pathetic. That's why he needs a mask. Yeah, I would have taken it in a lot of kids. I'm not talking about foster parenting, Brenda. I would have had a lot of kids in. I I really did well when I worked as a social worker with the teenagers. That was two set populations that I felt that I did a good job in, and of course I was praised in it by my superiors. Was teenagers and schizophrenics, because guess what? It is almost the same when you think about it. Teenagers and schizophrenic. I worked with a lot of schizophrenics, and I'm not telling you the ones that had abilities. I'm talking the ones that had no abilities. Oh, cat says that guy. No, cat. And then to come to find out, like I said, I didn't know him well, and he was highly religious. His son had written a book about religion. And so, of course, he gets to my house and he hands me his son's book. And I'm feeling, oh my God, he really thinks this woman, this was like 2 decades ago. So I was fairly young at that time. And he's probably thinking this woman's up to no good. Oh, that would be nice. I foster anyone. If anyone, this is my theory about foster care. Because I have grandchildren that have friends that need parenting, then I just parent them. Anyone that comes to my house that are children or young adults, then I parent them. I do everything the same as I would for my own child. He looks like a duck. Yeah. Yeah, I've been on a long time. Yeah, Manuel, I enjoy the children, and I enjoy them at any age, to be honest with you. And I love infants. I love like staying up all night and walking the halls to keep the infant quiet, to make sure the infant is as comfortable as possible, is one of the biggest joys I think in the world, to nurture a baby like that. No, there's so many parts of child raising that are beautiful, but that's what I don't understand about people like Lori, who child raising is a wayside. They go, child raising isn't anything. It's about them. Oh, good. I am too. She says, Leisha says she's the baby whisperer. Yeah, I'm kind of the homeless whisperer. Someone seems homeless, and I don't mean just physically homeless. In their soul, they're homeless. You know, they just don't have it in them. Then I try to help them get back to a place that they want to love themselves again. Nice, Manuela. There's a heart. Vixtex sends her or his love. Yeah, I love babies. If like a neighbor came right now and handed me one, I'd say bye, guys. I love tending to them. You know, there's something there's something miraculous in my opinion of being able to help a helpless baby or child. Oh, nice, Tina. I always did too. Tina says she works with special needs adults. I never worked with them per se. Well, yes, I did. That's untrue. I mostly volunteered on weekends. I'd take them in on, if they were special needs, I'd take on the weekends to give their primary caretaker a respite. Yeah, that's a great job, is right. Yeah, that's true, Lisa. You need children to get over yourself. It's all about you, and then a child comes in the picture and you're like, oh, where am I now? Oh, that must have been fun, Manuela, a youth worker. Nice, Mary. You saw the baby grandson being born. Yes. Elmer Fudd. I think Manuela's talking about Chad again. Elmer Fudd. She should just cut it, Jen. She should cut her hair, because she isn't going to be able to fancy it up like she used to. You know, she was the type that got up in the morning and probably spent 2 hours on herself. Yeah, I enjoyed my weekends. I'm going to tell you one story because I'm going to go, but just so we can end it on kind of a funny note, it's going to be like a funny joke story, but it's about one of my guys that I used to take care of on the weekends. And I did social work, so I came across everybody. You know, social work entails from doctors right down to people living under the bridge. You deal with everybody, so every walk of life. And so on the weekends, I did social work. Well, that week, a man had died that had been living on the streets. And prior to that, I knew him from being in the state hospital because he had psychiatric issues. So the boy that I took care of, the young man, he was like 18, 19 at the time, was special needs child. And so I went to this other man's funeral. It was on a Saturday. So I went to the funeral, and the whole funeral place was packed. It wasn't at a church. It was just at some kind of conference center or something. So the whole place was packed with people. And there was a podium at front, but the guy had been homeless. So most of the people were either service providers who had worked with him throughout the years, or just people that came because their family member was coming and they asked him to go along to. So my guy, the young man that I had on weekends, was sitting with me in the back pew. And I had two nuns next to me. They ran a shelter program / food bank for, indigent people. So the two nuns are sitting next to me. And I got this young man who's sitting right next to us. He says to me, when they ask if anyone wants to go up and talk about the deceased, he looks at me and he says, yeah, I want to go and talk about him. Because he knew him through his father. His father and this homeless man had crossed paths. So Brian gets up to the podium and he starts telling the whole church, there wasn't a church, but the whole session, the funeral session, that the man had made big mistakes in his life and that you can expect to visit him with the devil. I almost died. He was up there talking about how the devil has him now, and that's where he's going to be from now on. I didn't expect Brian to get up and tell this whole room full of people that this man is with the devil now. Yes, Kat. Yes. I'm saying yes to everyone. I'm just reading your comments. Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here. We've been here for a long time. We're going to close, but we're going to close with this last thought. To read the story, the article that Rachel Vellamore wrote, it's on my video from yesterday. It's in a link type in the description. And think of what Tylee's life could have been if she didn't live so restricted with Lori Vallow and her aunt, and how these people seem to be missing an emotional, what do you call it, a chip? The emotional chip, they call it nowadays, is missing from, so you can imagine being a little girl growing up and there's no emotional chip in Lori or in Melanie Pulowski to comfort Tylee. So not only did Tylee have to be taken from us in the way that she was from these heinous people, but also it seems like to me, with the adults she had around her, their ability to care, their ability to comfort and secure a growing person just wasn't there. So prayers to Tylee, not just for her death, but for all the hardship she had when they started turning against her. Oh, hi, Winnipeg, Manitoba. Hi, Happy Days. Yes, there's a pattern. Melanie, Pulowski, Kobe, Ty, all were described or observed as feeling the need to parent their dysfunctional parents. You're 100% right. The roles were reversed. The common sense was reversed. Usually it's us adults that have the common sense and we're trying to instill it in the young people. No, the young people had the common sense. And never should we, not to get on a bad subject, but I got to broach it since we're talking and since I'm going to be ending this now, is never do we use traumas that have happened to children as a way to profit or a way to ascertain knowledge that we otherwise wouldn't have. That is just as terrible as doing the acts. If you are distributing trauma-based things about children, if you're selling them, if you're talking about them in forums that can hurt those children, it is no different than the act that was egregious, that was put upon them in the first place. So think of that. The act is egregious, but then the talking of the act, the selling of the act, all of those are just as egregious to the child as the uh, the act itself. And I think a lot of you know what I'm talking about. So with that said, guys, you know there's a lot of ugly out there. Keep aware. Let's not re-victimize. Let's not re-victimize people. Let's always cherish our young people. If we hold them close and if we hold them tight, it makes a better world. If we make them disenfranchised, if we proverbially defecate on them, then we're at fault. So, with that said, watch out for the ugly. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you on the brighter side the next time I come on live. Thank you so much for being here. Oh, yeah, I'm supposed to say like and subscribe and all that stuff. That's the mantra. Share, like, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. And I'm going to put on this.